Hi everybody, hope you're all doing really well. You'll have to excuse the bunged up nose at the moment. I've been building beds and such in the home, and got a brand new bed. And of course, when you take the old bed out, dust goes everywhere and it gets up your nose. And I'm finding it a bit hard to breathe from my nose at the moment. So I'm a bit of a mouth breather at the minute. Anyway, enough of that. Yes, this is part 5 of 31 days in August, which I am going to try and do a review on a random comic that's in my collection every single day in the month of August. Today is Sunday, which means that this is the second audience participation random comic selection. Okay, and this one was picked by NinjaJediSmurf. Alright, if you saw the video that I did for the actual selection, you'll realise that the box number 23 that he picked was right down the bottom, right over there. So I had to pull everything out to get the box out, but it was worth it. It was definitely worth it. Like I said, NinjaJediSmurf picked box 23 and comic 82, which was the Punisher number 55 from the Marvel Max series. Written by Garth Ennis with artwork by Goran Parlov. This series, I feel, is one of the ultimate Punisher series there is. I know the new series of Punisher is getting rave reviews, but this is the way the Punisher should be. It's dark, gritty. You'll see him. He does more than just go out and shoot people. There's more of a actual thinking mind behind the actions that the Punisher, Frank Castle, actually does to this comic, rather than just going out and shooting villains and and killing bad people, really. Excuse me for the nose, as I said before. We open up the comic, and on the first page we see the cover of a book. The title of the cover is Valley Forge, Valley Forge: The Slaughter of a US Marine Garrison and the Birth of the Punisher, by Michael Goodwin. Now, the character Michael Goodwin is the brother of another character called Steve Goodwin, who was a pretty big character in a mini-series that Garth Ennis wrote called The Punisher Born. If you haven't picked that one up, again, if you're a Punisher fan and you haven't picked it up, or if you're just a comic book fan, pick it up, because that is a really good series as well. No, Punisher Born tells the story of Frank Castle when he was in Vietnam, and the main character in that, the whole story of that, is seen through the eyes of a character called Steve Goodwin, who, as I said, is the brother of Michael Goodwin, who wrote the book. We see a couple of pages, a couple of extracts from the book, where you see some transcripts of dialogue that's made from two different Marine garrisons in Vietnam. You can tell by the transcript from the Marine garrison Valley Forge that they are in big trouble. They get in contact with another garrison called Tusker 3 Bravo, and the transcript that you have here shows that the Marines of the Valley Forge garrison are completely and utterly screwed. They are pinned down, and they're not going anywhere. Excuse me for the nose. We then enter a bar where we see Nick Fury sat at a table, and into the bar walks Frank Castle, the Punisher. In previous issue, Frank Castle finds out that he had a daughter that he had no idea about. she was basically born from him having a quick fling with another woman, other than his actual wife. And a character called Barracuda, who was this completely insane character who only in the last issue the Punisher had just killed and saved his daughter's life from him. After just before Frank Castle kills Barracuda, he says that he was basically tipped off for what's been happening, and the fact that Frank Castle had this child that he never knew about. So Frank Castle goes to Nick Fury in the hope that that Fury will give him some information on who tipped off Barracuda and who kept the information of him having a daughter secret from him. On the screen, there is on the TV screen in the bar, you see a picture of somewhere. I'd imagine it would be either in Iraq or Afghanistan. This comic was published in 2008, so I'm not quite sure where US Marines were at that time. But it says US deaths top 40,000. Sorry, 4,000. As they're sat there both drinking, the Punisher with a club soda and Nick Fury with a stiff whiskey, they lament on the war that's happening now and past wars that have happened that they've both been soldiers in, and they lament on whether they should have done more or whether they should have done less in the situations that they were in when they in wars that they were in. Nick Fury hands over an envelope which has pictures and names of the people that hid information from Frank Castle about his daughter and also tipped off Barracuda into ways of possibly getting into Frank Castle's head to help him to help Barracuda get rid of Frank Castle once and for all, which obviously didn't work. Fury asks Castle if he's actually going to kill the people in the envelope, to which Castle replies, I don't know, I haven't thought of that yet, I might do. Obviously, if he finds out who it is, I'm sure that he will probably not be very happy with him. We then go to a lush golf course where there are a group of men, middle-aged to late 50s or 60s, who are all playing golf, and they're all talking with each other about the Punisher, about how much of a pain in the arse the Punisher is to them, how they've tried to get rid of him in the past and it hasn't worked, and what they should do to get rid of him in the past. One of them turns around and says he has got a master plan. He has got a perfect idea to get rid of him. They all laugh and say, well, what are you going to do, use the police? We've tried that before, that ain't going to work. You know, what other kind of leverage do you think we're going to be able to use to get rid of Frank Castle? And that's when he turns around and says, we're going to use soldiers. Their plan is that they get a group of 8 Delta Force soldiers to go in, take out Frank Castle, get him out, and finish him once and for all. They're all stood around saying, well, who are you going to get to head this? Because whoever it is going to be going into a suicide mission, really. And they say, well, that's okay because we've already got a volunteer. We then go into the office of Colonel Howie, who has been given a box of cigars from General Perrineau, who is one of the guys that are on the golf course. He's talking to a lieutenant about the Punisher and past experiences that he's had with Frank Castle and what's happened in those periods. They both sit there chatting quite informally, really, about how they're going to put the Delta Force together and who is going to be in it. And they finally walk away to put the Delta Force, the group, together. On the last page, we see Frank Castle sitting in a very dimly lit room. There's only two desk lights shining on a desk in front of him. As we look to what Frank Castle can see, we see 8 pictures of 8 men. The 8 men are the same men who are on the golf course, who are talking about trying to get rid of Frank Castle. And that's when the fun really begins. As I said, this series of Punisher Max, as far as I'm concerned, is the definitive version of Frank Castle as the Punisher. If you haven't ever read any of Garth Ennis's Punisher, I would suggest start off with the Marvel Knights Punisher, because that does have a lot of Garth Ennis's humour in it as well. There's quite a lot of humour. If you remember the Punisher movie, 2004 Punisher movie, there's a bit in there where Frank Castle is trying to extract information from somebody, where he's got them strung up upside down, and he's pretending to stick a blowtorch on them, but instead of putting a blowtorch on them, he's sticking a lice lolly on them. And he's explaining that when somebody's skin is burnt to a degree by using the blowtorch, it doesn't feel hot, it feels cold. Of course, without hurting somebody, if you tell somebody that and you stick an ice lolly on there, their own brain's going to sort of like make them think that you're actually trying to cook them to get information on them, and they will speak like that, which this person, the character in the film, did. The whole 2004 Punisher movie is near enough from the Marvel Knights Punisher that Garth Ennis wrote in the early 2000s. This one is a lot more grittier, a lot more darker, and I would near enough say a lot more realistic as well. It didn't go on for many issues, as a lot of Garth Ennis's runs don't. He wrote the Preacher, which only went on for around about 60-70 issues. The Boys that he's doing for Dynamite Comics is wrapping up soon with issue 72. He only seems to like to do about 60 or 70 issues on a run that he's doing. And if I remember correctly, he actually come off of Punisher Max around about issue 60, 65, I think it was. Yeah, so if you can find any of them with that series or get them in trade, definitely worth getting if you haven't already got them. Right, thank you all for watching. Tomorrow is Monday, and it's going to be a random comic that I pick out of my comic box. I think I've got a pretty good one. It's a comic that I wouldn't normally have read, and I remember where I got it from, so I might go into a little bit more detail with that. Thank you everybody who has participated in the viewer's choice random comic selector that I'm doing. everybody who has already given me numbers and that I haven't picked yet. So the two guys, NinjaJediSmurf and sorry, I can't remember your name at the moment, but the person that I picked that picked the yesterday's comic. If you want to give me two other numbers, one from 1 to 51 and one from 1 to 100, that's perfectly fine. You can do that if you want. Still, please play the game. Everybody else out there who's already given me numbers, if you want me to keep I'll keep the numbers you've already given me. But if you want to give me more numbers, that's even better. The more random numbers you lot give me out there, the better, because then it means the more randomness I'm going to be picking out of these boxes. And when I do my box pick, my random comic pick on Friday, you'll probably find me even destroying myself trying to get the boxes out like I did on the last video. So yeah, the more numbers you people give me out there, the better. Okay, so that'll be it. But just one set of numbers for me, everybody, each week, if you don't mind. But if you've already given me numbers, doesn't matter. Give me another two numbers if you want. That'd be fantastic. Right, so yeah, I'm going to go off now because it's about 10:15 at night, and I've got to go to work tomorrow morning, unfortunately. Well, I'll pay for the comics. Yeah, thanks for watching. Hope you're all enjoying this as much as I am, because I'm finding it an absolute blast finding all these comics that I've either forgot I've got, or haven't, or just haven't bothered to pick them up and reread them again. And I'll tell you, doing something like this actually makes you read these comics properly, and actually makes you it makes you like the comics even more. You know, you bought the comics because you liked them, hopefully anyway. And rereading them like this, and reading them in a way that you have to do something like the review on them, it makes you realise that the comics you have are pretty good comics. So yeah, thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed that. Take care, and come back tomorrow for another completely random comic picked by me and another random comic review. Thanks for watching. Ta-ta for now.